Today, we're diving into an idea from a 16th century mystic, St. John of the Cross, that's going to sound, well, kind of crazy at first. He suggested that our good deeds, the very things we do to be better people, can actually be bad for us. I know, it sounds nuts, but let's dig into this paradox.
It really makes you stop and think, right? The idea that being charitable or pious or just helpful could somehow lead you down the wrong path. But that's exactly the puzzle St. John of the Cross puts in front of us. It forces us to look way deeper at why we're doing the things we do.
So, to get our heads around this, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the specific spiritual danger he was so worried about. Then, we're going to break down the 7 moral harms he says can come from it. We'll also see how even spiritual gifts can turn into traps, what the benefits of humility are, and we'll wrap up with a really big question about our true reward. So what is this danger? St. John of the Cross calls it taking vain joy in our good works. Now, the problem isn't the good deed itself. It's the satisfaction and the pride we feel about it. It's when that joy becomes all about us instead of the good we're actually doing that it turns into a spiritual trap. And this isn't just some vague philosophical idea. Oh no, the source text is super clear on this, calling this kind of pride spiritually ruinous. He was so concerned about it that he carefully spelled out 7 specific ways this misplaced joy can corrupt us. The point isn't to feel guilty for doing good, it's to see how easily pride can poison even our best intentions. So how exactly does this happen? How does a good deed go bad? Well, in his work, St. John lays out this incredibly clear framework for understanding how that corruption works. He gives us an itemized list of the spiritual damage that happens when we get too self-satisfied with our own good deeds. He boils it down to 7 distinct harms. 7. And thinking about them this way really helps break it all down. What's so interesting is how every single one of them flows from that one single root, pride. So here they are. You can see how it's kind of like a downward spiral, right? It kicks off with vanity and judging other people. Then it moves into seeking that feeling of gratification. And from there, it can lead to losing your ultimate reward, giving up when things get tough, getting deluded about what's actually important, and finally, being totally unable to take advice. It all starts from just patting ourselves on the back a little too much. The text pulls out this perfect, classic example. You've probably heard it before, the Pharisee's prayer. When he thanks God that he's not like other people, he actually commits the first 2 harms in one sentence. First, vanity. He's totally full of himself. And second, contempt for others. He's not just proud, he's using his good deeds as a weapon to look down on everyone else. And this one, man, this one is so practical, it's almost scary. This is the 5th harm. Think about it. If you're only doing good for that warm, fuzzy feeling, or for the praise you get, what happens when the work gets really hard and nobody's cheering for you anymore? You quit. Your motivation was tied to your own satisfaction, not the work itself. So when that joy runs out, so does the work. Okay, so the rabbit hole goes even deeper. It's not just about moral actions like giving to the poor. St. John of the Cross also warns us about taking pride in supernatural gifts, things like profound wisdom, deep faith, or even the ability to perform miracles. There's actually a specific theological term for these, gratiae gratis date. It literally means graces freely given. And the whole idea is that these amazing gifts are given to a person not for themselves, but for the good of the community. They're meant to be tools, not trophies. This is really the heart of it. A supernatural gift, no matter how amazing, is basically worthless without the right intention, without love. As St. Paul wrote, and as the text reminds us, it's like a clanging bell. Sure, it makes a lot of noise, and it might even seem impressive, but it's totally empty. The gift itself has no real value without a selfless motivation behind it. And the text drives this home with this incredibly powerful quote from the Gospels. The disciples come back all excited because they can cast out demons, and they're told, hey, don't rejoice in the power. That's not the point. Rejoice that your names are written in the book of life. The focus should always be on the ultimate goal, not on the flashy, temporary powers you might get along the way. All right, so we've spent a lot of time on the problem. It sounds pretty grim, right? But the text doesn't just leave us there with a warning. It also shows us the way out. But getting rid of that vain joy and working on humility, we don't just avoid the bad stuff, we actually gain some incredible benefits. This chart just lays it out so clearly. You've got 2 paths in front of you. On the left, you've got vain joy. Your motivation is praise, your focus is yourself, and the end result is just emptiness. But on the right, you've got pure intention. Your motivation is love and service.
Your focus is on God, and the result is what the text calls abundant merit. It's a total shift in how you see everything. And the source text actually outlines what you get in return for this shift. When you let go of that need for applause, you're suddenly free from the temptation to show off. Your work gets better and more diligent because it doesn't depend on how you're feeling that day. You become poor in spirit, which is a state of deep humility, and you cultivate true meekness. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're real, practical results. So, all of this, it all funnels down to one single, really important question that we have to ask ourselves. After we understand the dangers of pride and the benefits of humility, we have to look in the mirror and ask, why am I doing this? What is my real reward? St. John of the Cross gives some super direct, practical advice on this. He says, hide your good works, do them in secret, don't look for an audience. He quotes that famous line, let not the left hand know what the right hand is doing. The idea isn't to be sneaky, it's to purify your own motives, to make absolutely sure you're doing good for the sake of good, not for the crowd. And that leaves us with this one last thing to chew on. A really powerful question to ask yourself. If there was no audience, no praise, no recognition at all, if nobody in the entire world would ever know, what good would you still do? Your answer to that question reveals everything about your true motivation and, according to St. John of the Cross, the real value of your work.